Greetings and salutations, everyone.
Sinvu, it's been too long. Audience there, all the Imposter Kings enjoyers out there, it's been way too long.
It sure has.
This wait was worth it. You know why?
Why is that?
Because while we were all waiting, this gentleman right here was working extremely hard on something that I think we'll all find to be incredible. A lot of us have been in the beta and already know it's incredible. The expansion to the Imposter Kings Fragments of Nersetti.
Love the name.
And those fragments are all over. Those fragments have coalesced. And now, tonight, we're going to see for the very first time, out in the world, out in the public, Fragments of Nersetti played live by two of the best ever to play the game here tonight.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting for me since I get to see, the best players under some pressure in order to play the game. They'll be having a lot of fun. But also just to see the full showcase of the game, to see the full potential. Just like the old game, the base game. I shouldn't call it old.
The base game.
The base
the
game.
Core game.
The core game. The core game. We've noticed the meta has shifted considerably over time, and this expansion just kind of gives you a lot more player agency, a lot more options. So it's going to be pretty crazy to see what and who and what they're doing tonight. To come into this match. Both players here and the players tomorrow have tried out the game already in the client. Both players here have divergent strategies in the base game on how they play, and it's gonna be a lot of fun.
It is gonna be a lot of fun. Now, for those of you who are familiar with Imposter Kings, there'll be a lot to absorb here because you're gonna see those new cards, the new kings, the new rules that all come as part of this. Don't worry, we'll walk you through those as you see them. You're going to get thrown neck deep into this world, though, and let me tell you, it's going to be a lot of fun as we dig in. These players, they already know the rules. They were all part of the beta, so they've seen, again, this game come together. So we're going to see some high-level play out of the gate, but you're right, Simbu, that we're going to see the formation of a meta here as they learn what these new rules can do in terms of taking advantage of the new system.
That's right. So in this base game, in the expansion game, there is three big new mechanics that you're going to see today. One is that each player has an army. We'll talk about what those are in just a second. They'll also have the ability to choose different types of kings depending on what their hand looks like. And then finally, each player is also choosing different signature cards that kind of complement their army. So the thing that's going to be really interesting to see here is how they're going to use all the resources they have available to them and make sure that they're able to essentially play the hand that they want to play.
That's exactly right. One big thing about this new game, it's important to know, no mulligans. Mulligans are gone because they've been replaced by that army. So now, instead of relying solely on the hand you're dealt, each player has an army that they can draft into their hand in any given game in order to be able to augment their hand to play the strategy they want. But that army has limited uses. You can't just play your whole army every game. You use it up over the course of the match. So resource management now is becoming a very important part of Imposter Kings, about when you reach into your army to be able to tip the balance of a key hand or not. And in that army, there are those specialty cards.
Yep, we can go ahead and show them right now. Also we have, you want to go ahead and, a real prototype of the game that we've...
Folks, if you're curious about whether this game is real or not, whether your Kickstarter dollars have been hard at work, rest assured they have this proof right here. I'm going to hold it right up. The Imposter Kings, let me take my finger out of the way. Fragments of Nersetti, here it is, all snug in its plastic wrap, with beautiful Michael Hirschon art in there.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
for
this
sure.
is the good stuff right here.
So we'll be showcasing that in just a bit. And so let's go ahead and just get right into the rules. The one thing I'm going to mention is that every single aspect of the expansion has made it into this online client that will be available to everyone who wants to play online after we release the game. The one card, the Stranger is taking, one of the signature cards known as the Stranger is going to be taking, is out for ceremonial reasons. So we'll be seeing without that card, but let's go ahead and go right into it. So we have a primer here of exactly how the game is being played. First off, if you don't know about the base game, or if you're just a new player and you kind of want to know what's going on, we're not going to be explaining the base player rules, but we have a QR code here. You can also go to the cheat sheet, which we'll link into the chat in just a second. This will show you kind of the basics of the game. The main golden rule of the game is you want to play something that is equal or higher value. If you can't play a card, you can flip your king one time to reset the pile. If you can't play a card after that, then you're toast.
That's exactly right. And those cards all have special abilities that determine when they can be played or not beyond their number. There's certain cards that can be played in certain times, even if their number wouldn't normally be able to get them out. But at core, the idea is you want to be the last player able to make a play.
That's right. So, yeah, let's move on to the expansion here. So, first off, each player has a base army of 5 cards. You may recognize these cards. They're in the base game. These are 5 cards that you can pull at your disposal in order to augment your hand. Let's say you have a Fool in your hand and you really need an Oathbound in order to be able to play it. Well, you have 1 Oathbound that you can use. The only downside is that once you use these cards, they're tired and exhausted.
They are quite, as the cards will say, they are exhausted. Now, Simbu mentioned you might recognize these cards, but you might also recognize they look a little different. Look at that beautiful new art for each of these 5 cards, huh?
That's right. So, yeah, there's a way to distinguish which army card it is. There's actually one for each player, up to 4 players. They have like a different flag. Really cool stuff by Michael. And yeah, as we mentioned, you can pull from this army in order to pick up cards and be able to augment your hand. Alongside that, there's 2 new kings. So both players can choose either the Master Tactician or the Charismatic Leader. The top one up here is the Charismatic Leader. This one will let you be able to, when you flip your king, be able to either take your successor or you can take something from your army that is the same value or lower than your successor. The one cost of that, however, is that you have to reveal diplomatically, as a charismatic leader, you have to diplomatically show your successor card to your opponent. So you're giving up information, but then you have a little bit more flexibility throughout the match.
That's right. You can reach into your army if you need to save yourself by giving up that information. And then the other king is the Master Tactician. And the Master Tactician really is a fitting name for that one. So with the Master Tactician, when you that one, you're actually setting aside 2 cards at the start of the match. And if you time your flip to be at the right time, where if you just to remind
you have the same, if you have
it's
the same
number,
base value as the successor.
That's right. So let's say you successor, let's say a soldier, and the judge is currently what's up on the pile. If you flip your king, not only do you get to take your soldier into your hand, but that second card, which is an additional card, you also get to take into your hand, or you may also, instead of taking that card, take something from your army.
Exactly. Yeah, so there's a high risk and reward card. If you can't flip on the right card, then you only get to choose one of the cards from your successor pile. You have 2. You have a successor and a squire. So high risk because if you can't flip on the right thing, then you lose a card permanently for that round. But high reward if you do get to hit it and you get to hide more information from your opponent. So one of them, notice his face is open. The other one is hiding his face behind a sword. So anyways, moving on. So we have a slew of different signature cards. This is The Kid, one of the contestants. He chose, there was a draft that we did before the game. He chose the Informant, the Lock Shift, and the Exile. So going quickly over these signature cards, which will remind you as they're in play. The Informant allows the Kid to be able to guess a card in the opponent's dungeon. That's the card that they discard at the beginning of the game. If he's correct, he can either take that card or rally for free, meaning that he's going to get a card like a Fool permanently if he guesses correctly. If he guesses wrong, nothing happens. So it's just kind of like you shoot the shots you get and hope that you nail it. This is especially effective if your opponent throws away a card that you need in order to be successful. That's
right. So now all of a sudden burning a card, and the card that you burn becomes that much more significant of a decision because the Informant could fish it out of your burn pile and into your opponent's hand if they can guess what you burned.
That's right. So the real gist of this is that one of the reasons why it's a good card to pick as a signature card is that now NotoriousBLT always has to be wary of that anytime he rallies, that he might not actually have safety in that burn.
That's right. And there have been cases, right, where folks have burned Fools. They've burned cards that had a lot of utility in them, assassins as well.
Yeah.
And there's no longer safety in that. And speaking of the burn card, the lock shift also makes use of that as well, right?
That's
Simbu?
right. So if the kid plays the lock shift, that means that all other players reveal their dungeon card, meaning that they have to show what it is, and then he can choose. If he makes them reveal it, then both players will also take their dungeon card back into their hand. There's a natural sneaky combo here where if he actually rallies both of these cards and he takes his dungeon card, then not only is he getting his dungeon card as an additional card, he's also making it so he can't pick up that dungeon card. But that's, the kid is already looking up all the combos. He's looking on, what is it?
Pro Player Plays?
That was not the one I was thinking of. It was the Game FAQs.
Oh, yeah, he's already on the Game FAQs discussion boards right now, working at the meta strat around lock shift.
The last one here is an 8. Really big card. It loses 1 value on the throne for each card with a base value of 7 or higher, so it gets weaker the higher cards that are in throne. However, once it's played, all cards are muted. So that means that anything that's played on the opponent's turn no longer works for 1 turn.
That's right. It's like an Omni Mystic for the whole next turn on every number.
Oh, yeah.
And that makes for quite an intense situation. Again, it's an 8, so it's easy to get down. And when it gets down, it can create a lot of mayhem because your opponent's strategy is out the window. They need to play on that beefy card, but all the abilities associated with that are lost.
That's right. So moving on to Notorious BLT's cards, we've got the Ancestor, the Conspiracist, and the Exile. Uh-oh. That's wrong. He actually took, I think, if I remember correctly, he has the Ancestor, the Conspiracist, and he goes pure utility. So I want to say that he has the Aegis was thrown out. We'll figure it out.
We'll see here in a moment.
Nocturne.
The Nocturne, that's right.
Oh, man, I got to get that artwork up here.
Yeah, I'm
going to fix that right now. This is
art.
important.
So while Simbu is, that's right.
You got to get the Nocturne.
You're going to get that art here. Stand by.
But so going first, you can talk about the Ancestor. The main point of the Ancestor is that it's like a better Elder. It allows you to essentially play on royalty, but then you get a bonus. One of your exhausted cards from your army goes back into your army and you can rally. Not only that, it also makes your elders steadfast, meaning they're not affected by being muted, and +3 value.
That's right. So suddenly elders, you can't mystic them and they're worth 6. They suddenly become very strong cards. And again, it is worth noting. So as we mentioned, the army is not something you can pull from every turn. When you pull a card from your army at the beginning of your hand, that's used up for the rest of the match. But it is by virtue of the Ancestor that you can get cards back into your army for future plays. So again, it's all part of that resource management where you can set yourself up for a strong end to the match if you can redeem a card by virtue of your Ancestor.
Correct, yeah. And so sorry about the whole mix-up here. We're going to throw the Nocturne in there. That's the second card I'll be talking about, which is if there are disgraced cards in court, when you play this card, you ask your opponent, hey, do I have this card in my hand? If they are wrong, you get to look at all of their cards and get rid of one of them.
You get to throw out a card of your opponent.
It's such a vindictive card.
It's extremely strong. Anyone who's played Magic the Gathering knows how much that can detonate a strategy, having your opponent being able to take a card from your hand and use it for the least possible value. So Nocturne, again, very powerful card that can really turn a match if that's what you're going to use in that hand.
That's right.
And then finally, I think this may be my favorite art of all the cards. That or the Stranger, which we won't be seeing here just yet, or perhaps
I have to rub it in. Notorious BLT's favorite card. He can't pick it.
Is the Conspiracist. Yeah. Simbu, take us through the Conspiracist.
So the Conspiracist is an interesting card. You play it. He keeps begging people to listen to him, and eventually things come true. You play the Conspiracist. He becomes a 5, but the next turn, anything in your antechamber or in your hand has a value of +1 and is no longer muted, meaning they have steadfast. So they are, if they mute your 3s, if they mute any of the cards that you care about, the Conspiracist lets you block that for a turn effectively. And then once you play that card, it stays steadfast and +1 in the court until it's removed from the court. So Conspiracist buffing a card, it's basically like I'm about to make a big play.
Yeah, Conspiracist again sets up. It takes away some of the opponent's countermeasures to block your big play. So suddenly that mystic that might mystic, even say an assassin, can no longer be a failsafe to get out of that jam.
Oof, yeah. I mean, it's brutal if you feel like you got the assassin muted and then he plays the Conspiracist and you're forced to flip. It's a bad sign for you.
DOA.
But anyways, so let's go ahead and get right back into it. If you have any questions, pop them in chat, and we have people in the chat to be able to answer them. I might be able to answer them, but let's just go straight into our first game.
That's right. Now, one other thing to note, there's going to be one other card you're going to see on the table here, which is not one of the signature cards. It's now in the mix as well. It is the Immortal.
That's right.
And when the Immortal comes out, which we'll see, we'll talk a little bit more about that.
Sure.
It's the Warlord's best pal, would you say?
That's they're from the same faction. So the Immortal essentially reduces the power of elders and royalty, and then makes the Warlord be able to siege a coup. Which means, I'm not sure if sieging a coup actually is the right verb. They perform a coup, which is essentially they become extremely powerful. So we'll talk about that when we get into there. Let's go straight into Imposter Stadium.
Imposter King Stadium. Here we are, folks. And all right, we've got our first pair of hands for the Fragments of Nersetti. Now, one other thing you may note on the hand on the bottom is that the Warden is also now in play. The Warden in the base game, the core game, is a 3 and 4 player card, but with the emergence of the Immortal, the Warden also comes out to play in the 2-player game.
That's right. So the Warden basically says if there are 4 or more face-up cards in court, you may exchange any card from your hand with the accused card. The accused card is the face-up card that they get to both see. In this case, it's the Mystic. So if there's 4 or more cards in court and they play it, or actually 3 because it counts itself, it can exchange a card to get that Mystic. So NotoriousBLT is the true king. He decides to go first. So what happens next is after NotoriousBLT decides he's going first, the opposing team, the person who's playing second, has to choose to muster first. Now the muster phase is where they can start making some changes to their hand. They can choose a different king. They can also choose to recruit cards. So in this case, it looks like the kid is recruiting the informant from his army. In order to do so, he needs to get rid of 1 card from his hand, so it's an exchange. The NotoriousBLT gets to see that exchange. And since this is his first recruitment of the muster phase, he has to also exhaust the card, using one of the cards that they've... My goodness, he is going wild on the first turn. He's doing 2. So he has to exhaust 1 card from his army the first time he recruits. He decides to recruit again and grab a judge, exchanging another soldier for it. So he got rid of 2 soldiers, picked up this informant, and this judge.
That's right. So that means the soldier now is out of his army. So he can't recruit that soldier for the rest of the match.
That's
unless he can pick it back up, which he doesn't have the ancestors, so that's not going to happen.
Yep.
So again,
he's burning a lot of resources on the first round. He doesn't have the best hand, but it's surprising to me that he would. I think he's gonna try a double judge strategy.
Yeah, judge into judge. So we talked about the battery before and all the various disappointments of it, but a double judge battery.
It's only disappointing.
That's a whole different kettle of fish indeed. And so the kid ends muster, kid staying with the base king.
That's right. So one of the benefits of getting one of the alternative kings is that you don't have to exhaust the card in order to grab something from your army. It looks like NotoriousBLT, even though he has a great hand, he's going to burn one of his elders, knowing that he doesn't really need them probably. He needs to also exhaust the card from his army as well since he's recruiting. That's the cost of doing it without using a king, is that you have to kind of burn more of your resources to do it before the game starts.
That's right. If you go to your army during the game, you don't have to burn up any of your army. But if you do any of it during the muster phase right now, that's where you're using up your resources.
Yeah. Let's see what he's going to pull. What do you think? It looks like he recruited a soldier, which is interesting.
Fascinating.
So I think he's
directly anticipating a judge play, perhaps, to play a soldier just to use up a judge slot.
That works too. Also, his opponent, he knows he has 2 royalty, and we were just talking about how the Immortal is anti-royalty. This soldier will make it so he can actually disgrace this Immortal before it can do any damage. So when the Immortal is played, it becomes a value of 5. The soldier could come in there and usher them out of the court.
That's right. While the Immortal is out there, the royalty is debuffed, and the Warlord and the Immortal are buffed. And
that's right.
So it's the soldier that's able to get them out. And so that's one of the things about this expansion is a humble soldier suddenly becomes that much more important.
You know, I've always said the soldier is important. Everyone always says, there has to be 1 card you don't like. But in this case, he has just decided to stay with the base king. He's exhausted his judge. And now they're into, this is just like the normal imposter kings. He keeps an elder, which is kind of interesting, rather than keeping one of his inquisitors here.
I think perhaps you think it's all about the informant, perhaps, to make the informant not able to pick the elder up.
Oh, that's a good point. So this might be that influence we were talking about with the informant. He knows that he's rallying 2 cards. He's thinking he might grab the informant. This mixes things up for him. Also, he's probably thinking, you know what, the fool, you never know. Right.
That's right. With the fool, you don't know. And again, what the informant play would do, he has both royalty, and he knows the Notorious BLT doesn't have either elder or either royalty cards. So making sure that he couldn't pick up the elder through an informant play is part of the reason why he didn't get rid of the elder, which means he is going to carry one, even though it's not very useful for him right now.
Yeah. Well, he put it away, which I think is right. He's trying to go for maximum pressure here. He's going first. He can nail that Inquisitor. If he nails that Inquisitor, he's looking good. This might be, in fact, one of those times where perhaps I would have maybe gone Master Tactician just because it's so vital to hide information. Looks like the kid is thinking about what he's doing.
Should I let him know to go? Or are they waiting?
Oh, no, I don't think. I think this is just standard kid play.
They're thinking. Yeah, I mean, and that's it. Especially as we get in, there are so many more angles that a hand can take.
Threw away the
toss the immortal.
The immortal is so good for him because he has the warlord, which becomes empowered by it, and it stops his too. I think he's just quite literally thinking that Inquisitor is going to try to hit my immortal, but throwing it away, I guess he's adamant about it not being important.
Well, he might be setting an Inquisitor miss later. And, again, I get the sense, right, that the kid here is going to try to play the entire first half of this hand with a double judge combo. So, in that case...
But you double judge into the informant. Or, sorry, double judge... Oh, I guess you do double judge into the informant.
Yeah, I think the informant is where he's going to go. And we'll see. Or he might even lead off with the informant, where he could then pick up the Inquisitor and then go 5-4, 5-4. And he tucks the warden away. Not a bad success.
Immediate Inquisitor into immortal, so it works out for him.
Boy, look at that. Again, the kid already starting to master the strats.
This is so funny. They've played each other so much. They just know. And it's so crazy to me. Like, this is the first game that we're showcasing, and they're already going 7 layers deep. Inquisitor misses, so now it's time for the kid to choose his counterplay. Asks for the assassin, is able to hit on that. We'll see. I don't think he's going to King's Hand this. He might when he sees the second judge.
Oh, my. Yep.
So he's getting the loop. Notorious BLT's already flipping his king, which is amazing because you know what that means is that he's already brought this hand down to
a 2-point
hand.
hand.
To a 2-point hand. So the kid, looking to have a terrible hand, already has... He does it again. He says assassin again.
Yeah, he wanted to make sure he hit on
this
that.
Is so funny.
No risk there. And there's the informant. Yep.
The kid is getting exactly what he wants. Is he going to be able to predict the right thing, though?
That's right. So that is going to be critical. And that Inquisitor could be very handy.
Oh, my gosh. He misses the warden, too, with the soldier.
Oh, my gosh. Now, granted, there's...
I know, but it's still funny.
But the irony is that the kid could have a rare 3-judge round if he fools to pick the judge up. Unlikely, but wouldn't that be an amusing situation?
Yeah. So now he has to do the informant. And, I mean, the right thing to guess is elder, but he knows that his opponent is trying to be tricky. What would you think that it is? He checked for assassin already, so it can't be assassin, obviously.
Yeah,
What do you think? He's not going to throw away these big cards. He could think it was a zealot, right? That's the only other thing. So this is the face down card. Neither player knows that this is discarded. I think if I was Ben, he's probably going to either choose.
He went for Elder. And that's what I do too. Even though I suspect that Notorious BLT is going to throw the Elder away, it's what I really want. Yeah. So go for it. Maybe you get lucky. And if not, all right.
They're in the same chat room right now, which means that there's just so much trash talking probably happening right now.
All right. Out comes the Queen, perhaps countering a fool play. Although it might be a little early for that. We'll see. BLT is not going to want to flip on that. The kid's not going to want to flip on that. The kid is still in a precarious position because...
he can't flip on it, right?
Yeah, he knows the assassin's there. He has nothing he can do about it.
Yeah, this is... at this point, it was all fun and games with the double judge, but not hitting that informant is kid is playing out of his mind, but that informant mix-up by Notorious BLT really kind of just ended his run.
Yeah, it was a brilliant decision by Notorious BLT, not again, as we talked about, not to put the Elder in a place where the kid could fetch it. Now,
in that early flip by NotoriousBLT, he's giving up a point, but he's preventing the Fool from being played. So
that's right. So, right now, the kid, looking at the situation here, I suspect is going to try to throw the Warlord out there, praying that, or no, he'll just
he has to get the Oathbound back. He's got to just basically continue to Oathbound loop until.
Yeah, that's right. That is a better
It's just going to be pressure and pressure and pressure.
And, of course, again, at this point, he's going to go 6-7, and King's Hand here will seal a 2-point victory. Or the Princess. Basically.
Well, he could just Princess swap, yeah.
Yeah, I mean. Yeah, either will work. The game's over at this point. Yep, and Assassin comes out, and it's a 2-point win for NotoriousBLT. So, again, some really high-level play for the first hand that we're seeing out in the public for the expansion. Countermeasures and countermeasures. Both players reading each other very well.
I mean, you start from the beginning here. You got that Inquisitor was so key here because he misses the Immortal, which is great for the kid. He can now start his Reign of Terror with the judges. He flips here because he's giving up that point, but now it's preventing him from using the Fool because he has to play the judges in his antechamber. So he plays the judge, gets it again. I don't think he's scared of this Informant because he knows about the debauchery he had there.
Yep.
And then, he misses. I would have been suspicious maybe as the kid if the Inquisitor came out and it shot for something that was a 6. I might have been a little suspicious of that, but there's no way you would know that this was out. And at the end of the day, at this point, it's lights out for him because he has no further play. What the kid had to basically wish was that one of those big cards was over here. But since the Assassin is in his hand, that's lights out.
Now, I mean, the one other thing, thinking about this is thinking about the setup for this hand. Because one thing to consider, the kid went and went down the route of relying on the Informant. One member of his army is the Inquisitor, and one thing the kid didn't have was any assassin countermeasures in his hand. And so that might have been something to reach for there, potentially just to try to draw the assassin out.
Maybe he would have reached for it if he hit the Informant, recruited another thing. Let's take a quick look at their armies here. So right now, NotoriousBLT has his Judge and Soldier exhausted. The kid has 3 cards exhausted in the first round, so that's a lot. Army management is a big part of this expansion. The kid is deciding to go first here, so that means the Notorious is going to have to choose first. One of the benefits of going first in the expansion is that you get to see what your opponent's doing first.
That's right.
So
we'll see. Again, but he did use up 3 of his cards in his army, the kid here. So this is where resource management does come into it. Again, unluckily enough, the kid didn't get either royalty card again. But he does have an Elder. He's got Oathbound.
He's got the Immortal and the Warlord again.
He got the Immortal Warlord combo. He's got the Assassin.
It's giving him a little bit more power here with the Assassin and the King's Hand, but, we'll see how he decides to play this. Notorious is going to recruit, immediately grabs his Conspiracist. I wonder what he's going to do with that. He's probably going to go for a 10.
Yeah, for a 10 Queen.
Yeah.
Although being a 10 Queen still is susceptible to an Elder.
Oh, sorry. Exactly. I mean, I think he's got the Sentry that he can go with it. We'll see what he's thinking. I mean, again, there's so much versatility in this game that you can't really tell exactly how it's going to go.
Yeah, actually, so one thing about the Conspiracist is it combos extremely well with 8s because an 8 that's buffed to a 9 is as strong as a roly card numerically, but you can't use an Elder on it.
Yeah, and the other thing you could use the Conspiracist for is the Conspiracist actually can warn the royalty of the impending coup. So if there is an Immortal that's played, these would normally be muted, but with the Conspiracist behind it, then they're able to actually come out full force. And not only full force, but they become a 10 on the turn that they're played.
That's right. Now, one thing to note here, our first new king being deployed.
What?
The kid is going with the charismatic leader.
Oh my goodness. Hold on. First off, he exhausted his Elder in order to grab this Conspiracist. And we got the charismatic leader. So as we mentioned, now the kid is going to expose what his... So he decided not to recruit anything from his army, probably because it's going to cost too much. But he still has a way to pull it using his charismatic king. So he has to reveal his successor throughout the round. But when he decides to flip, he can take his successor or remove his successor and rally a card of equal or lower value.
Yep. Now, again, it'll be an interesting dynamic about what he wants. So
it has to be equal or lower value.
yeah,
So
if he wants to say pull his exile, the only thing he could do is put his king's hand away.
yeah, I don't think you want to do that.
Which, would be very risky. Granted, he does have the assassin.
I think he's going to put the judge there in order to threaten a lock shift. So the lock shift allows you to take your thrown away cards, and this puts Notorious BLT in a weird position where he's like, maybe this card that's being thrown away might come back to my hand, but it's up to the kid whether he does that or not. So
that's right.
So that is what he does. Yep. So I think that's the right play.
Okay, so Judge now tucked away, and Notorious BLT knows that because the charismatic leader means it's face up. But now again, as you mentioned,
he doesn't know yet. But
that's right. It's revealed. Yeah,
at the beginning of the hand. So there we go. He threw away his Oathbound and successored his princess. I was gonna say throw away his princess. That was wrong. All right. Anyways,
that would be a bold play indeed.
I was like,
if
that's
you
goose
had
level
the
play.
lock shift,
That's goose level play.
Then I could see doing something like that, but with his hand, probably not. So
this is actually a great throwaway because he doesn't need it for the full play, but it's also not bad to get back. Oh, immediate. He
leads with the Immortal. Okay, so royalty immediately debuffed is no longer considered royalty.
He's kept his soldier here, so he's got the 2 soldiers. He kept one. He showed that he threw one away. He's keeping one here, and this is now he has quite an easy ability to choose. He can easily choose the right cards here because he has one of the cards face up here. The only card he doesn't know about really is this throwaway card, and both players don't know about this.
So BLT guesses King's hand is correct, so get some information, and is
King's handed.
Wants to keep it out there. That's right. And now what's interesting is here's a little bit of anti-synergy for the Immortal. If you're Notorious BLT and you've got the Fool in your hand, you actually don't want the Queen to disgrace everything.
Well, he goes straight into Conspiracist here, so he's going to line up for the big hit.
Yeah.
So look at all of his cards are ready to go next turn.
Now, putting out a 10 that is a Queen is a game-winning proposition because...
yeah, it gets rid of the Immortal, too.
Elder it. Oh, that's right.
So it does.
Unmuted. Oh, never mind. Because of the unmuting. So... plans within plans.
It would have been better if it was the princess, so that way you could follow through with the plan that you had outlined there.
That's right. If you put the princess out there, it's a 10. It's not royalty, which means you can't play anything on it except for an Oathbound, which the kid does have.
Well, actually, technically, it becomes royalty still with the Conspiracist. It retains its information. It's just the Elder would have been muted because of the Immortal.
That's right. The Elder loses its
ability. It's the same
outcome, but different mechanism. So, all right. So a lot of thinking the kid is doing in response to this.
He wants to flip here, ideally, but then he's absolutely toast. If the Queen comes out, it's really not great for him. He can still Oathbound his way out of there, but
yeah, it's interesting. Again, the some angles here, right? So
lots of different angles.
He could drop the Warlord out there, which will come out and be a 9 in the court, which would effectively force either a Queen play or a King flip.
Which he can't safely king flip anymore because he got rid of his... well, actually, it was the kid who had the king's hand, so he can't flip right now, Notorious BLT.
So, right, you could force the Queen out with a Warlord play here, which I think would be...
Oh, he went with Oathbound. So now Notorious BLT has quite the plays. It's actually funny. He almost was able to play the Inquisitor there.
So there's the Queen. Hits now is a 10.
Yep.
But can be eldered, and is exactly what happens. So he forces it out, gets the elder play on top of it. Now Notorious BLT has initiative, and could Inquisit out.
Shout out to Hash who programmed this to actually account for everything we just talked about.
That's right. So many permutations and interactions in the expansion. So
this little tilt lets you know if you're playing the physical game, we like to tilt it a little bit to show that it's been affected by the Conspiracists. So that's why it's like that. So while it's in court, there we go.
There it is. Pulls the assassin. Yep.
So that's like a nice safety play, right? So he plays the Queen. He has to play the Elder. He gets to play his Inquisitor.
Yep. So, all right. Now, the kid there's royalty out there. So that is buffing his Warlord.
Oh, my God. Did he hit the 7s? He did. Oh, my goodness. He is just... Notorious BLT is coming out to play.
Oh boy! Now that causes problems because he knew the kid was heavy in 7s.
To flip.
Yeah.
Oh no, the kid didn't flip. So now there's a sentry into assassin play here.
Oh my!
Yeah, there's quite a lot of This is not great.
This could be a 3-point hand if that is what Notorious BLT chooses to do here. There's the sentry.
No ability.
No,
so
just
he's
plays
just
as an
making him
8.
flip it. Yep.
All right, so
Which is fine. He'll get the fool now too.
the kid will have to flip. And Notorious BLT will likely make a fool play. I would guess pick up the queen.
That's a nice one to have.
That's a good handy to have.
That might be a well. We'll see. He's gonna flip here, right? And he has to choose whether he takes a successor. This is always an interesting choice because, he's either
goes to the army to pull.
Because what I was gonna say is, if he chooses his judge, he's giving up, and that means he's not gonna pull from his army anymore. But he decides to pull from his army here.
He saves a point by doing that because right now he gets to play the elder.
Yep.
And that forces BLT to do a king flip because he's out of cards.
Yeah.
And it will save a point, and that's the hand.
Yeah, it sure is. Round is over. Notorious BLT gets 2 points. Shouldn't he only have 1 point because it was
still has the soldier?
No,
Oh no, you're right. That should be a 2-point save because he did run his cards out.
He did run his cards out.
Ah,
I'm confer with the players about that.
I think you might have just jinxed us with the comment. Again, there's a lot of permutations there. But yeah, kid. I think what's confusing the system here is because of the charismatic leader card trade. I think it's still considering that successor as being in play as something the kid has access to, but the kid used the elder that he traded that judge for. So should be 3-0 here. The scoreboard is 4-0.
So we'll go ahead and play it as 3-0.
That's right. So subtract. On. Speaking of markers, so just put -1, and if there is a case where BLT gets to 6, the game will end at that point. What we'll do is we'll play another game. And just treat it BLT as 6 and carry the scores forward.
That's right.
All right.
I'm going to quickly go to my little admin console here, see if I can do any sort of fixing here.
Simbu's furiously filing a JIRA ticket as we speak. So, all right, I'll talk to this hand as it comes up. So, again, the kid has initiative here. We'll choose who will rock and roll first on this. And this time, the kid mercifully gets both royalty cards, and the assassin, and an Oathbound, and the Immortal, and the Warlord combo again. So, pretty strong hand in terms of what's automatically out there. One Elder is out. The Warlord is not there. If I'm BLT, I'm looking at this and thinking, this might not be a bad time to dive a bit into my army, knowing what is out there. An Elder would be pretty useful. Could be interesting. And again, one of the nice things about the Elder normally is very easy to fetch with the charismatic leader, but with the assassin in your opponent's hand, that puts some limitations on what you can do. Now, BLT does have the king's hand as an assassin countermeasure. I think it's going to be really interesting to see what the army dives are going to be. I wouldn't be surprised for the kid not to dive deep in the army with this hand, but BLT, I think, might want to go there.
Well, let's take a look at the armies here. We've got 4 cards left for the kid. And as you mentioned, Notorious BLT has ways to recurse basically some of his cards back into his hand with this ancestor. I really like that creative play. He's going to have Notorious BLT go first.
BLT's going first.
And he's going to get to choose whether he recruits here. I think it was a pretty good idea for him to go to his king for that play, and it actually saved him a point, although it's not displaying. He did save him 2 points out.
It was a fantastic choice.
It's actually 2 points because he would have been able to get a 3-point win if he chose
it was a
the judge.
3-point win.
So he actually was able to cut it down by 2 by doing that recruiting.
Yeah, charismatic leader.
Man, I throw away that elder all the time. Saved his bacon.
Yeah, I mean, the elder is actually, as an army card, is extremely useful in situations where you're under-equipped against royalty. And
no mustering for him.
All right, so kid doesn't do the dive there. And that's the advantage of being in the lead is, again, you can keep your powder dry. And keep your army well fed for a later push. The kid, there is a huge difference between being down 3-0 and 4-0. Because if you're down 4-0, you're one hand away from losing the match. And the kid, ignore what's on your screen, is only down 3-0 here, can be conservative about the army pull.
He's pulling an ancestor, and he's going charismatic here. So I think that a Notorious here is trying to go for a pretty big hand. Even though he doesn't have a great answer for a lot of the stuff, he's now pulling his answers through the ancestor and making sure he's got that charismatic. Look at those darkened eyes. That's what happens when you're not a true king. You don't get the
kind of shifty, charismatic leader, dark charisma.
Yeah, he's supposed to be what? Diplomatic, right?
Yep. So, all right, Chuck's.
Did you notice the little knife down here?
No.
Yeah,
I
you want to see
never
that?
noticed
He's got a little knife down there. Oh, they're just chucking their things. So I can
Wow,
really show
all
it.
right,
Look at that.
so-
They just keep chucking every
So
time I click it.
no elders in this match. And the zealot, BLT exhausts the zealot, puts the warden away, which will be face up for the kid to see. The kid tucks away the assassin face down behind
This
his
gives him
regular
lots of
king.
options with his army because all of them are 7 or less. They are just playing right now, so I can't talk. Here we go. Inquisitor, Queen, straight into Ancestor, unexhausted the Elder. Like literally just immediately pulls from his hand, immediately hits with the Ancestor. Elders are now more powerful. He's able to pull an Elder right back into his hand, and now he gets to choose whether he wants to rally or not.
Yeah, now again.
And he skipped the rally, so he's just giving himself a resource. All Elders now have more power.
Interesting.
Steadfast and +3 value.
Going, well, there's only one royalty card out there now, but with buffed elders, minus it still would be very useful at the moment.
I love 6s. I mean, 6s are a great number to have that are steadfast too. So
that's true. So, all right. So 4 now to the kid to play, and the kid's got a lot of options here, including, well, he has to be careful because the Fool is unaccounted for. We know BLT has it with an Oathbound combo. So this might be a good time for a judge, but we'll see.
I don't dislike the judge play here. He's got to get that. The Notorious BLT has been playing this beta for a while, and he's one of the people who, yep, there you go, he asks for the Fool. Notorious BLT has been holding soldiers ever since the Immortal came out. Like, he is one of the people who actually follows that pretty judiciously. So we're seeing a battery here. We all know the battery percentage success rate.
But, again, that's at the core game. This is a different different beast entirely. A soldier has been buffed. So king flip on that.
Okay.
Which, if you're the kid, is a little disappointing with the tucked away assassin.
Oh, my, yeah. Not great. He gets to decide whether he's going to recruit from his army still or just pull the warden. I think he just takes the warden here. Yeah, he does that.
All right, the kid now plays...
He's already in a dominant position. There's no reason to go grab a Nocturne or any of the other cards.
Well, I mean...
You can grab the Elder, but...
I don't know necessarily. This kid guesses correctly on the warden.
Yeah, he wants that. He's probably going to kill the Ancestor here, knowing that his is gone.
Yep, he'll want the Ancestor out. He'll want to keep the Queen around to buff his Warlord.
We got the cool Ancestor.
But he does have to be careful, too, because the Fool it is a cool Ancestor. He has to be careful about the Fool. So, there's a couple...
Oh, he got rid of everything.
Yeah, I think he's more worried about the Fool than he is worried about buffing his own Warlord there. So here comes the Warden. The Warden can issue it. Cannot. Yeah, there has to be 4 cards
They seem to have disgraced everything.
That's right. So the Warden's just got to be a 7.
That's a good soldier. I mean, he disgraced everything and prevented for the Fool and for the Warden. So that's nice.
Now, one thing to remember, the kid's got the Princess. So having a useless assassin is actually quite valuable when you've got the Princess.
Just send it over.
Exactly. You can stick your opponent with it. Of course, King's Hand is still around too, so you have to be careful while that's true. All right, so kid now pondering a play, and there are quite a few options right now for the kid. This, in terms of king flip time, would be a fairly low impact time. You're giving up card advantage in a soldier, but you have an Immortal, so soldier, has value. Although we know that BLT also has the other soldier. So probably
I don't think I mind it. You can I think you have to make a decision here if you're the kid. Do you go for a win here or do you just, hemorrhage one more point?
Yeah, so there is the king flip. So king flip takes the assassin into hand. BLT still has the Oathbound to pair the Fool with, but is going to go with the Fool.
Okay, so he does the soldier pickup.
So card advantage now to BLT with double soldier play. Now the kid actually could throw his assassin away right now, get it out of his hand, but that is giving up tempo to BLT big time.
Yeah.
I think definitely saving that card for a Princess swap. But you do have to force the King's Hand out of BLT's hand to get away with a Princess swap. And so, a bit of maneuvering here.
Yeah, I don't know. I think this is one of those situations where if you had card advantage, it would be okay because you could use the Princess to oppress the other person. But Now you have to think, okay, we have to get rid of all of his answers to the princess in order to win. So the kid has to account for an elder that he can't see. He might have thought that he had an elder with the ancestor, and then also account for this Oathbound.
Yeah, that's what I thought was coming. Was just a straight 6 because, you don't want to set up something that BLT can play the Oathbound.
And you're okay if it's an elder, by the way, if your opponent has, because then you have the warlord backup. But the main thing here is that he needs to get that Oathbound out.
Yeah, so he goes for the princess and he just plays it as a 9.
I think he's hoping that it's an elder, not an Oathbound. But we all know that's an Oathbound.
Yeah, so okay, there it is. The Oathbound comes out, and we'll see what comes out with it.
Hitting a soldier.
Soldier, only option now. He has to play the warlord because the soldier's now a 7.
And he threw away his,
Yeah. And there it is.
Yep.
So 5-0 now. BLT up, and it's just been everything's been going his way so far. Some excellent play and some excellent use of resources.
Yep, absolutely. So it's actually 0-5 because of the aforementioned glitch in the game. And yeah, I mean, this is all going BLT's way. You look at the resources again. It all goes downhill from, right here. You know that he doesn't have the elder. That's a bummer. But ironically, to the beginning of the game, this setup is really interesting, right? He goes straight for the queen. They go really fast here, right? They go for the queen, gets the queen, immediately ancestors, makes his army better, and he goes ahead to win this round.
Yeah, I mean, again, resource-wise, that's a big advantage. And, he went for the queen because he knew his big out. He had the king's hand as assassin protection. Couldn't get mysticked because the mystic was out. They both knew it. And he knew that if he could put big pressure with his fool, that would dictate a lot of the terms of the hand. That's
and it really did.
What happened. Yeah.
And the biggest unfortunate part about this is that he did the battery, but one of the biggest weaknesses of the battery is the king flip, right? And he just goes through it. He doesn't have a risk because he's got the king's hand. And by flipping now, there's nothing else that the kid can play. And at this point, even if you disgrace everything, you've got you have to flip at some point. And when you make that flip, that fool's going to come in and change the tempo of the game.
Yeah, exactly. It's, again, tough setup right there. Kid's got his back against the wall right now, but we've seen him in this situation before, and he's been successful. I should also point out that's another loss for the battery there, so put that in the L column for the battery.
Thanks, kid. The battery's not bad. You just have to use it properly. It's like, telling someone, oh, yeah, manual cards are bad because I always stall. It's like, you practice it a bit. You know when you're supposed to use it. That's a bad analogy. I don't
know if we can say skill issue when it's the kid in question. I think if there's anyone for whom that's not true, now or ever, it would be the kid.
Yeah, it's a situational thing, right? You just got to know when to play it. It's just like the master tactician.
That's true.
Not defensive of the master tactician at all.
All right, so again, the kid now decides that he's going to go first here. This is a interesting hand.
Yeah, interesting is one way to put it. It's like it's a very varied hand.
Stuck in the middle in some ways, but he does have the assassin. And Oathbound doesn't have the fool.
Both players don't realize king's hand is out. They both see that the fool is out. So flipping is somewhat safe for the kid. Not so much for Notorious BLT. But the kid doesn't realize that he doesn't have that safety net. We look at the armies real fast. You see, boy, he's still got 3 cards in his army. It seems like he's been using a lot of them. And it looks like actually the kid has more in his army.
Yeah, the kid hasn't mustered since the first hand. So been saving his resources. Now he's down 5-0. That's when you, especially on a hand like this, I would not be surprised to see him dip into that at all.
Yeah. I think that Nocturne's going to probably come out if I was to guess for Notorious. He needs 2 points to win. Again, this is supposed to be a 5. He goes with a charismatic leader, so he's at least going to be giving us this shady look.
That's right. All right.
Do you see the knife, though?
I do now. Oh, yeah. He's pulling it out from his coat there.
Yeah. See, he's not so cool after all.
No, what charisma.
What charisma.
Yeah.
But so no mustering. So he's not rallying. He has chosen the charismatic leader, and now it's up to the kid to decide what he's going to do with that information.
And the kid picks the lock shift. So kid's going to know exactly what the BLT has tucked away as his successor, which does give you a little bit more information for what you're going to pick up with the lock shift.
If he decides to do it.
That's right.
That's the main thing about the lock shift is actually, honestly, most of the cards in the signature cards, they're really powerful, but they're actually the most powerful as a threat, more so than anything. So Now the Notorious BLT has to think, what did he pick up, right? It could have been the exile, it could have been the lock shift. I mean, I don't know. You have 0 points. Do you spend here, or do you try to play it softly?
Well, I think you're gonna have to win multiple hands.
Yeah.
So I think 1 card is what I pick up, and I think he did an interesting one. Now, what's interesting is he threw away the Immortal to pick up the lock shift, which is surprising. You usually think one of those soldiers would be on its way out, especially now. You know, you don't have a sentry. Sentry's on the other side.
Can't be a soldier hater anymore. That's the expansion.
Well, and you know the fool, but the fool's out of the game, which is one of the main things you want a soldier around for. To flip cards for the fool. And usually you want a soldier to get rid of the Immortal. So I'm a bit surprised.
He just wants power. You know, you look at your opponent's hand, you see that they have maybe 2 8s, 2 7s, and then the rest of it, and obviously the queen. So that's like 5 cards that you have to combat, and these 2 are good at combating 2 of those, right? So it's like forcing them to start playing their bigger ones. He also goes charismatic, by the way, to open himself up. We got 2 charismatic. Look, this one's the non-shifty one.
There's the face. All right, he throws away his assassin, but remember he's got the lock shift, which means he can pick it back up.
Yeah, I know for a fact here that like, you know, the pro players, quote unquote, they can see this, they can smell it coming away, but. This is really interesting that he decides to do that.
So by having it there, that means...
It's like a secret successor.
Yeah, it's exactly right. It's just like a secret successor. The real successor for him is going to be the Zealot, which is kind of an interesting choice.
Starts off with a king's hand.
Misses. Oh, no. Now, are you surprised to see...
Goes straight back to Assassin. You know, this is...
Misses. So now... Oh, do you go with your lock shift right away?
Why not?
It seems like you gotta get that, because otherwise
this is the lock shift play.
You're going right into a king flip. There is the lock shift. Yep. And
so now both players will take their dungeon cards into their hands.
Now Notorious is stuck with 2 elders, not especially useful. And all right, Sentry to pick the Inquisitor up. Interesting.
Oh, he wants to get rid of
that assassin. Now, one thing that
you think he'll mystic
can do is
he's gonna mystic it.
And there it is.
The thing that's funny about this mystic is now he's also prepping for the Nocturne. So the 4s, this Nocturne, if he tries to recruit the Nocturne using his charismatic leader, is not going to be useful.
Already.
They're just firing. Oh my gosh, here comes the Fool. My goodness, they are just, and now he's going to get rid of his Inquisitor. Look at that.
Oh my gosh, look at that. So the Fool.
They're going so fast I can't even follow. This is insane.
Yeah, so okay. Now, ball back in the kid's court here. And
it's not a terrible idea to flip right now as the kid to ensure that you have more cards than them. There's nothing that Notorious BLT can do to pull the card out of his hand. But he goes straight to using
Princess
the ability.
With the ability. What's he going to try? It's one of those soldiers, I would guess. And, oh, boy. So
I'm not sure I like the princess play here just because there's so many answers to it so far. It's not like you had, like, the right, like, you know, it's not hard to pick up the... Wait, hold on. Did he put away... He charismatic leader to Zealot, which he can't use.
Yeah, I'm a bit surprised by that.
Okay.
So,
anyways, stop soldier for Fool. He gave him the Fool.
Wow. But then Queen play comes out,
right.
Gives the Fool nothing to pick up. He can Oathbound into something here, or he can King flip.
Oathbound into Oathbound.
Yeah.
Or into Fool. I mean, into Oathbound again.
Yeah, you could. Yeah, do the 616, which is a thought. But I mean, one thing about this, right?
I think you flip here as the kid, and then you just ride it out and try to get the assassin play.
Yeah, there's not a lot of meat left on this board. The highest card...
I can't believe he gave him a Fool.
Yeah, you would have thought he would have chalked his Elder. But he's going to play the Elder... Yeah, I'm just... I'm astonished by that myself. Yeah, that's what happened. But you know, again, it's hard to second guess things right now because
they're going so fast.
Yeah, and they're you know, some hot play here. So, all right, kid taking a moment here. Yeah, you can 616. You can king flip. I guess you could 6-5.
Oh, there's the flip.
There's a king flip.
And yeah, he can't pull anything from his army because nothing is value 3 or less. So he is going to just grab his Zealot.
Yeah, now that Zealot's going to be very useful right now.
Yeah, it's actually extremely useful.
Yeah, you're just trying to wait BLT out, and the Zealot, there's a lot of utility at the moment.
But BLT has a free soldier hit on the Zealot if he feels like it. He just elects to go with the Elder, get it out of his hand.
All right, so Now, BLT, I guess, yeah, soldier. Leave it up, might as well.
Soldier.
So it's a 7. So BLT has 3 possible plays: Warlord, King Flip, or Oathbound into Soldier.
Yeah, it's all not going to look good for him because at the end of the day, that's Oathbound is going to save his bacon, and then he's going to be able to assassinate, I think.
So there's a 7. Yep, he's going to Oathbound.
Yep.
Into...
Oh, I mean, I would have zealoted there.
Yeah, I probably would have zealot too, but you can use a Fool to pick up.
But then he wouldn't be able to Oathbound the next thing that comes out if he plays an Oathbound. So
yeah,
he's thought this through. I think
I think he knows what's around now. Yeah,
he's got to use the Fool now.
Yep, so he'll Fool to pick up probably the Soldier.
Would you pick up the Soldier or the Oathbound? Because you have to be
careful.
careful.
No, you're right. He would 616 it. Absolutely, yeah.
I think you have to 616.
Yeah.
Is he going to run out of cards?
No. He would if he had to play the Oathbound as a real thing.
Yeah. As a real card?
Yeah.
A real bait.
Yeah. So, yep, 616. BLT. Now, I mean, well, hold a second. If he hits with the Soldier, then he gets the Zealot. Yeah, if he hits with the Soldier, then Zealot. Yep. He picked Oathbound.
I think he might run out of cards here. I'm not fast with the math, but
no,
he plays the 3,
he's fine.
Plays the 6. He plays the 6. No, he then has to flip. You're good.
Yeah,
we're good. You're right. You were right the first time.
Yep, flips the
All
king.
Right, there we go.
Comes out. It's a 2-point win for the Kid. And
All right,
again,
Kid's on the board. 5-2.
Some excellent play. Again, the thing, you know, depending on how this match goes, one question we'll have is why to give the Fool in that scenario.
Yeah, so, I mean, you see this here, right? We go forward into the match. We get the lock shift. We know that's happening. Lots of different changes here. He uses the Mystic to get rid of Force. Smart play. Kind of diminishes his purchasing power with his Charismatic. He's able to swap it out. Just masterful play here. But when we get to the swap, he elects to give him the Fool rather than the Elder here. And I think it's just because he's thinking, you know what, if I play this queen, then if he plays the Elder, you know, I'm not so sure about that just because he has, you know, some more pressure there. He needed that Fool in order to give more pressure to have things to battle that assassin. So yeah, we'll have to ask about that. But at the end of the day, now after a couple of different plays back and forth, he just by the skin of his teeth, a nice 616, he's able to get that assassin out.
There it is. Some very smart play by the Kid there. So fighting his way back into this one. Ignore what's on your screen. It's 5-2 now as we head into, this is the 6th round?
I want to say it's the 5th.
5th. Yeah, it's the 5th. Okay.
2, 4, 6, 2. That's, yeah,
well,
5th
well, there's a
round.
1-point hand in there.
Yeah, so 2, 4, 1.
No,
1.
yeah, it's 2-1, 2-2. Yep. So, all right, 5th hand coming up. And, all right, as we launch into it. So, right now, BLT gets 6-1 combo, King's hand, and the Princess. A lot of power there.
A lot of power on NotoriousBLT's hand. This is, again, when you want your army to kind of shine for you.
And the Kid, right now, main thing he's got going on is has the Assassin.
I think he's going to have to pull the, so BLT is going to go first. He wants to probably bludgeon with high numbers, and this is where you probably have to recruit for that exile.
Yeah, looking at the Kid's army, this is where I'd reach in, probably pull the exile. Now, again, thing to note is once you have recruited down to where you have 1 card left, that means you can no longer muster because you have to both pull and exhaust.
Yeah, so if he does grab that exile, he's all out of cards at this point.
Yeah. So
ran down his army.
But yeah, I think, you know, you got to play to win this match. You know, if it is 5-2, maybe he thinks he could.
This is the equivalent of basically running out your mulligans.
Yeah,
so
I mean,
I feel like you gotta don't leave water in your canteen. Is that what you said?
Yeah, I think this is the case. The Kid ended muster. Kid did not pull anything. He's gonna go with what he's got. I mean, maybe he thinks he can fight this to a 1-point hand. Maybe. Boy, he thinks he can force an assassin situation. He does.
That's rough. I mean, I think not even going Master Tactician to be able to have that option to pull the exile, like the high risk, high reward, that also hides information from your opponent who might be trying to go for a battery or some sort of judge play.
Yeah, I mean, this actually probably is not a bad time to do the Master Tactician.
It's never a bad time.
Well, you know, what you think about is if you think...
No muster on the other side either.
Yeah.
So this is just Imposter Kings No expansion cards except for this Immortal and this Warden.
That's really where the Master Tactician could shine. Is if you think BLT is going to lead with a Judge, you've got a Soldier, pop it under there, and then something you really want, and that way you can have the Soldier and the Exile card advantage going in. This would seem to be the spot for it.
Yeah.
But all right, he puts one of his Inquisitors underneath. That Inquisitor is going to be huge for the kid, I think, because he's really got to try to steer the bus a little bit in order to force this game to where it needs to be.
Yeah.
And he's got to hit if he uses the Inquisitor at the right time to pull the right thing, he might have a shot.
Yeah, it's just a bummer because even if he just had the Sentry or even the King's Hand in his hand, I feel like this hand would have been, not as bad as it seems. But right now, this is just a tough hand, especially since your opponent gets to dictate the flow of the game.
Yeah, I mean, one thing, he has the Warden, and there's something to pick up there.
Straight into Elder.
Yep, so Elder, interesting.
Well, this is the battery, Dan. What's the success rate on the battery?
Oh, boy, I was liking BLT's chances, but, again, the battery's not a particularly strong play often. Maybe here it will be.
I think this is going to be pretty strong. He could have gone with a bludgeoning hand, or he could have gone with let's ride this out with 2 5s.
He's just pushing numbers. Yeah. I mean, he knows he's got the beef. So he's going to push some numbers.
And the good news about this is that he can then play his Soldier to get rid of cards in the court, knowing that his Warden would be really effective here to grab that.
Boy, this really would have been a good time for the Master Tactician right here. I mean, it would have been to be able to pull the Exile, which is what that would have allowed for free. Knowing BLT was likely to lead with the Judge, knowing
not only be able to pull
Inquisitors.
it for free, you see that he's going to play another 5, right? So you can actually hold it one turn too.
Of course, the other thing is BLT would have known the kid did the Master Tactician and probably would have seen this move coming.
He probably would have batteried. He probably would have gone bludgeoning.
Exactly. Yep.
Because you have less hard cards in your hand when you do Master Tactician. You're putting 2 of them face down.
That's right. So, all right, we'll see. BLT.
What do you think the kid's going to do here? Obvious choice is Soldier for the easy play.
Yeah, Soldier don't touch anything, but BLT is probably going to wipe both cards with his Soldier play.
Oh. I thought for a second there he might have thought of doing a King's Hand there, but it's good to save that. Interesting, he keeps it up. I thought he would have disgraced to. Oh no, he's not. He's the one with the Warden. Never mind.
Yeah, the kid definitely wants to get 4 cards out there.
Yeah, it's the Notorious BLT's play here where he gets to decide whether he wants to disgrace if he can keep
which
he does. Look, he asks for Warden.
Yeah, so
it's pretty clear what he's trying to do.
Yeah,
here.
exactly. Because I mean, having the 7 here would be really powerful. The Mystic, because 8s, he would wipe the 8s, but he's not going to get the chance. Most likely, we'll see. So all right, 7 to the kid, who could just dump the Warden now.
It's like
things are not looking good right now.
Yeah,
he's. I can't see a situation where he can hold out long enough to make the assassin count, especially going into a King's Hand. But I don't know what other options he has.
And Notorious needs to remember the number 6 is misleading there. It's 5 to 2, but Notorious BLT only needs 2 points to win. So
yeah, I mean the other thing to look at is can you escape by burning the cards out of your hand to make it a 1-point loss, which you could do, but especially with the Oathbound. But then you have to worry about burning them so fast that BLT doesn't flip his king before you're done, which has happened. So really tough situation. I think the kid sees it, which is why he's thinking through his options right now.
He really he's got to calculate every hypotenuse here.
All right, so it just dumps the Warden for 7.
Yeah, interesting. One of the other plays he could have done is Oathbound into Inquisitor to grab the King's Hand out of his hand to at least threaten the assassin, but I think he just calculated that's way too many cards to be dumping.
Yeah, again,
he's not going to have enough card power. He needs that Oathbound as well. This is just a rough go at it.
What would be very useful right now is a
Exile.
Exile, yes. Or I was thinking even a Zealot would be very useful.
Oof, the one that's thrown away, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely part of the calculus I'm sure that Notorious BLT is going through. He just is probably laser focused. This is a queen, not a princess, meaning that he can't even swap away his assassin. So all Notorious BLT has to do is just play it slow.
So flips, forces the assassin out, King's Hands it. Again, when you have
By the
a
way,
value,
cool animation there. It's like
yeah. When you have that when you have a power advantage like BLT knows that he has, you can do that. You can just baited
and
out.
BLT knows that he has the fool too. Like it's just he knows he's all the cards are in his hand.
Yeah, you can trust the heart of the cards. So all right, he also has the Immortal now, so he has the 6/7 combo.
Mm-hmm. If he can get rid of, yeah, I mean, like gets rid of this Oathbound. I mean, he's got him dead to rights. There's a king flip that we still have to be wary of. This Immortal will be a good bait for that king flip too. Oh, looks like he is going to Inquisit the princess.
Yeah, because
so
he has to get the Elder down on it to have any hope.
Yeah.
Probably not going to invoke it because, you don't want to give away anything you've got, most likely.
Yep. No ability. So I think he has the Elder here, and then he has some options. This is actually, Kid doing a pretty good feat.
Out. Yeah, as well as he could wriggle out. This is what he
the thing he has to do now is grab this. I think he has to grab this Inquisitor. Because he's got to force that Oathbound out before it becomes trouble.
Yeah, exactly. Because the Kid right now, the one card that will be difficult to play is the Inquisitor he's got tucked away as his successor.
Yeah.
So everything else can dispose of itself pretty well. But timing the king flip and being able to get the Inquisitor out in a 6/4 will get him home clean.
Yeah. He also has to be careful because this queen is now super powerful.
Now, one other thing to note is, remember
I think he's debating whether he uses this Immortal now or if he... Because it's super dangerous, right? This queen, the only thing he can do against it is the Oathbound if he doesn't have the Immortal out. But if he plays the Immortal now, the Kid will king flip.
That's right.
So
again, the Kid is making some chicken salad out of some real chicken poop with his hand and pushing it. And BLT knows that. He sees that there are roads here. There are roads here that could result in even losing this.
It was doubly funny because the Kid is vegan, I think. So it's chicken salad of chicken poop.
Chicken poop, I suppose, even isn't even vegan, but
I don't think it is.
No, I think
we answer the hard hitting questions here.
That's right. You heard it here first, folks.
So BLT is just, I think he's flummoxed.
Yeah, he realizes that, there is a possibility. And the other thing is he doesn't know that the Kid doesn't have a Zealot. And the Zealot, if the Zealot was the Kid's successor instead of the Inquisitor, this hand's already over. Like, the Kid is guaranteed a way to get out of this with
unless the Immortal is out. Because, again, the Immortal does make our good friend, the Warlord...
royalty, that's right, where you can't play Zealot on. But... yeah, I think BLT senses that this could get away from him. Both the win off of this, the match win could get away from him, or even the hand win. Because, again, the Kid does have the Queen. The Queen is a very painful card right now.
He does the Sentry, grabs the Inquisitor, throws in the Immortal. I love it when people do this. So he actually swaps his Immortal. The Immortal's in effect, and he can't king flip over to
it. Yeah, wow.
Oh, I forgot about that. Oh my gosh, this is going to be so good for him. This is actually game winning.
Wow. So
this is game winning for him. Yeah, this is tough. Now his Queen can't disgrace it, right? He can't flip to disgrace it. Like, this is, and he doesn't want to play either of these cards. Like, this is, was a game-winning play.
King flip. He's gonna king flip here, right?
Sure, king flip. That's great. Now you get an Inquisitor into your Oathbound, and you throw down this Warlord. You win the game.
Oh, that's right.
It's so powerful. That was such a good play.
Because the Warlord's at 10 right now.
Oh man, I hate the fact that I'm glazing Notorious BLT right now. He's gonna watch this video.
Warlord is at 10.
He's gonna Discord message me as soon as he gets to this part of the video.
Queen can't be played on it. Again, for those of you who are big fans of the lore of the Kingdom of Nersetti, just imagine this. That because of the Immortal stepping in, that would mean that the Warlord...
He didn't even step in. It, snuck its way in.
That's right.
It was always part of the court.
That's right. It's like it had always been there.
That Inquisitor actually was a Warlord.
Yeah, that
Immortal.
Sentry is a sensational play. Absolutely sensational play. And... yeah, the Kid is in a jam.
This is
Kid's thinking through permutations now, but I don't think there's a permutation that is going to... give the Kid what he wants here.
Which is surviving?
I mean, one thing... well, let's say the Kid plays the Queen here.
Okay.
So, Kid plays the Queen.
Oh, he went with the flip.
They did go with the king flip.
Okay, so now you Inquisit into that Oathbound, he might Inquisit the Zealot, but he shouldn't because he should know that the royalty is there.
Yeah.
It says royalty in big letters too.
That's true. I like that. The
Cood.
stamp.
It's Cood.
All right. So
Give me that Inquisitor. Come on.
if he hits it, but again, he doesn't.
There, he got it.
Goes for
This is it.
All right. So 6 comes out. Oathbound disabled. He will play his own Oathbound on top of it, most likely.
No, you throw the Warlord down. Because the Oathbound, he can do some debaucherous things. Potentially. I don't know. He's got the Zealot.
Oh, no, it's over. Nope.
Yeah,
All right, that's it. Game's over. 7-2.
Oh, my goodness.
BLT.
What a game.
Again, that sentry play made it all happen.
Oh, my.
Wow, indeed.
So that's a 7-2 to Notorious BLT. What a game.
And again, you got to see all of the mechanics, except for the Master Tactician. You got to see all of the mechanics.
I mean, just look at this hand, right? So he starts off with the battery. Which one, by the way? Get rid of the ability for him to play the Warlord, put some pressure on him, right? And then this is the crux right here. This is the danger zone, if you will. So after he plays this Elder, this is so dangerous, right? This situation is one where I did not find a solution for. But this sentry play makes or breaks that. That is insane. That is an insane play.
Yeah, knowing not only the sentry to pick up the Inquisitor, but to use the Immortal as the card being thrown into the court. Again, that's just a sensational play, and it shows the options that the expansion gives you in terms of hand play. And we got to see all of it. We got to see the army being pivotal. We got to see mustering. We got to see the showcase cards, the signature cards.
He left a little bit of water in his canteen, but I think that, we didn't get to see the Nocturne, which is everyone's favorite, but you'll probably see that tomorrow because I already know what the draft went for tomorrow, and people love the Nocturne. But we got to see the Sentry use its smart ability to throw in the Immortal, and yeah, I think, that's all it was to write. So
all that they wrote. So, my gosh, that was an excellent game. 2 excellent players at the peak of their abilities. We're going to see the meta start to form around this. Simbu, if you had to take away anything from this match, what would you take away?
Well, I got to see the Soldier and the Sentry, which people have complained about not being powerful, basically showcase this entire match. I mean, the Sentry was game-winning, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're going to see that Sentry Immortal combo more as a result of this.
I think so.
Sentry, use of its ability tends to be very situational because there's so much to give up. You're giving up an 8 in the court to leave an exposed, a disgraced card. But now, with plays like what we just saw in the Immortal providing cover for that, that is a really interesting combo. And I think we're going to start to see that come into the meta effectively.
Yeah.
And I think we're going to see players refine how they use the Immortal Warlord combo, because we saw that frequently. And in the first few times, it couldn't be brought to bear, but in that last hand, that's really where it hit hard.
Yeah, I'm just going to go right back to it really fast to just, you look at this, again, go back to the situation while we get the players into the stadium, right? You look at this and you think, there's a lot of different plays you can do, but the problem is that you want to do 2 points. You don't want 1 point here, and if he keeps that Oathbound up, you're going to run out of cards. But at the same time, I mean, you can walk them through it, which is essentially the cost of getting that Oathbound out is using your Sentry to pick up that Inquisitor in order to do that. But that comes at the cost of what is the card you're going to get rid of from your hand.
Yep, that's exactly right. And well, there you have it. Oh my gosh, a sensational match. And we're going to get a chance to talk with our 2 competitors who are stepping into the interview room here at Imposter King Stadium.
Yes, sir. Let's go ahead and grab them in just a second here. And
folks, so for those of you who just saw what you saw, I imagine many of you were Kickstarter backers, which means that your set is on its way. Well, it's coming. It's not in the mail yet, but
hold on here.
But now, again, what you've bought in is you're going to get one of these eventually that has all the new cards that we just saw. So the Immortal will be in here, all the special army variants of the core cards.
So this is our prototype that we just built. There's a couple of things that we proofread from it. We did some balance changes. We're going to get another prototype like this in order to make sure that it is perfect. We finished 3-player testing, 4-player testing. The game is design locked down. There's some small changes that we're going to be making, but for the most part, the design is locked down. What we saw tonight is a good showcase of what we're trying to accomplish, which is let's give players agency. Let's let them play the game, right?
Man.
And we got to see some really amazing things here. So let's go ahead and get NotoriousBLT in here.
Congratulations!
Well, he can't hear us yet.
What up?
Congrats!
Hello.
Thank you. I feel redeemed after those tournament losses that I suffered from Ben before. This was payback. I was bringing the heat back for him.
You definitely brought the heat. I mean, that was a sensational set. And right, you brought the heat right out of the gate. And we were just talking about it. Really, that century play in the last hand was just absolutely sensational, because that was a scary moment in that game, and it just showcased all the things that the expansion has in it, and it won you the match there at the end.
Yeah, that was what we were talking about during that hand. We're like, we're basically playing base game right now because we hadn't used our army or anything other than the Warden and the Immortal. And we're like, man, it's just so at the very last round. And we're like, we're basically playing base game right now, but it's gotten so complicated with all the minute interactions, and like the Immortal swapping in was just very caught off guard, like wasn't expected, and towards how the game changed just dramatically after that happened.
When did you realize that you could do that?
Like in testing or
no, right,
in that game?
In that game, because you took a pause in that moment.
Yeah, I was kind of planning on doing that earlier on. I think once I had played the Princess and he played the Elder over it, that was when I kind of realized I needed to pivot to playing around the Queen. What I was pondering at that last point was if I wanted to get the Inquisitor or the Soldier. I was initially thinking Soldier for bigger number, but I figured if I had the Inquisitor and he had to flip, it would allow me to manipulate the rest of his hand to pull out the last remaining piece that I was worried about playing around, so that I could close out with the Warlord. So that was really what I was considering.
Yeah, and it was a perfect read of the situation right there. And, all credit, the kid, that was a very tough hand to play. Definitely, especially with scarce resources, having used up quite a bit of your army at that point. The fact that you managed to get that game to that fulcrum where there was the possibility not only to maybe wriggle out with a 1-point loss in the 5-2 game, but even to win with the Queen play was quite a bit of really marvelous Houdini action.
It made me uncomfortable. It was very close. It was very, I don't like, the entire time I was like, there's no way he's going to get out of this. And then he's like, okay, he might actually win.
I thought I was going to win once I got it to the 4-card hand state.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, this was my game plan.
Do you have cards in your hand right now?
Oh, yeah. I was like, I've got, I survived the game. I think I'm in the winning position. I think the Princess is gone. There's no answers for the Queen. I think, I think maybe I've got my Inquisitor to get the last Oathbound out. Sure, maybe I can get there. But Dando's too good, and he knew what I was going for. So.
Well, I just thought it was so funny. I mean, you guys, I was telling the audience, I was like, I'm pretty sure they're in a Discord right now just trash talking each other throughout the game. So that's pretty fun. And yeah, I mean, the fact that you were able to get that calculus, it was amazing, honestly. And I what made you decide not to spend on that last turn when you had kind of a bad hand?
I need to win several hands in a row. So I could have spent to like try and get the show run a little longer for you guys. But if I'm trying to play to win the match, then I'm gonna have to win back-to-back hands from this point. So it's like, if I can't win this hand without it, I'm not gonna get through to the others.
So you saw a chance with that hand, and you're like, okay.
I was like, there's a chance that I can actually win with this hand, so I'm gonna go for that. And I felt Exile is one of the ways to win a hand. It's a very powerful effect, and it can win you a game. But with the assassin in my hand, I didn't want to mute my own assassin.
Right.
And get him out of jail free, right? So I thought I'll just save that for the next round if I get there, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Now, one thing I wanted to ask. So we saw a lot of the charismatic leader king get used throughout the match. Was there any point where either of you considered using the master tactician, where you thought, maybe this is the hand, or what were your thoughts in terms of picking kings throughout this match?
I was considering my mass tack for that last hand, in order to get a free rally, because I'm running out of army. I can't exhaust, right? And I was like, if I want to get both my exile and my Oathbound out of army, then I'm going to have to do it via Master Tactician and Charismatic at different points. So I was considering that for the last hand. On the lock shift game, I just did Charismatic to guarantee that he's going to play out his Inquisitor, because he knows the assassin's in my hand. So I just did it to
that's really
false
smart,
reveal that I didn't have it.
Wow. So that we were wondering because
that's the whole lore of the charismatic leader. You're offering him information. Here you go, handshake.
Because we were wondering. We were wondering like, oh, okay, the zealot. But there's nothing that's draftable off the zealot. It's the information. The disclosure was the value. That's so
sneaky.
sharp.
He's
wow.
very sneaky. That's we got a real Yu-Gi-Oh player here. He's got cards in his hand. He's like he's really good stuff. And I mean, I think resource management is a really interesting aspect of that. And both of you were kind of barreling around what's what you should be grabbing, what you shouldn't be. But yeah. Anyways, I mean, I think. Thank you both for joining us and for playing. That was a lot of fun to watch. That was a really good showcase of a lot of the cards. And that first hand, even, that was, double judge into an informant. The thing that was so crazy was that you did such a good job of nailing all the pieces you needed to hit. You needed him to miss on your first Inquisit. You needed to hit both of your judges. And then I was at the informant. I was like, oh, Dando set him up a trap. He put the Inquisitor there.
I did.
And the entire time I was just like, but you can kind of see that there might be a trap there because he played the Inquisitor and said informant. Sorry, not informant. He played the Inquisitor and said the Immortal, which is like, okay, if you're doing a double Inquisitor, maybe you would try to shoot for something lower first. But then the throwaway card was also a Zealot. So I was like, all right, well, I don't know. This is a 1 and 3 at this point. But I think, and that was like the pivotal thing that changed that, which was really interesting. So is there any moments in the game that was super exciting for you?
I mean, there were so many exciting moments in that game. But what was interesting in that moment was when he played the informant, he sat there for a second, he goes, it's got to be. There's no way that it wouldn't be the Elder. It has to be. And he sat there for a second and he said, it's got to be, and committed. And I knew you were going to do that. I knew you were going to do that.
And you
fun.
thought you saw him rally and you were like, all right, that's going to be.
Oh, yeah. I literally knew. I was like, he's going to go for the hard informant play, and he knows I'm going to put the Elder because that would blow me out if I put the Elder. So I purposely tucked my Elder to play around the informant.
It was devastating if he got that.
Yeah. But because I also was in that game, was my pieces that I was worried about playing against were the Warden and the Immortal, and I whiffed on both of them, which to him was like, oh, you played right into my trap. But to me it was like, well, those are the only two pieces that I was worried about, and now that I know you don't have them,
actually
I can lock the game. Yeah.
You've given me everything I need to know.
I think the other really highlight for me was, I don't know if it was game 2, but it was where he played the Immortal, I played the Soldier, and he countered the Soldier, or I played Conspiracist. Oh yeah, he King's Hand.
Yeah, I King's Hand the Soldier.
Yeah,
and then you Conspiracist to turn it on. Yeah. That was really interesting.
And the
Conspiracist got me there.
The thing that was so funny about that, and you guys were playing like lightning fast at that point, which I was like, guys, like, calm down. There's like 7 mechanics, and like the entire time I'm like, wow, Hash is just nailing it with these mechanics, like with the programmer of the game. But so you hit that Conspiracist, and then what's the irony behind it is that he happened to have an Elder, which would have been useless normally, but you turned it off. If you had the Princess in that case, then it would have been really bad for him, because then you would have had a 10, and then he wouldn't be able to play an Elder on it. But it was cool that you were able to turn it off that way, which I thought was super cool.
Yeah, never done that before.
Because normally the Immortal is intrinsically able to withstand any sort of disgracing from royalty. But I love that Conspiracist play. It was super cool.
Yeah.
Ben, on your side, did you have anything that you were hyped about?
Yeah, I mean, it was a blast playing with all the new cards.
You love the artwork, right?
Yeah,
You saw the artwork for the first time today.
all the nice art. Yeah, it's really fun. Always a pleasure to play with Sam. And I'm more interested to know what your guys' favorite game was
Yeah,
watching
yeah.
and casting.
Boy, they were all really good. I mean, there was one time where you swapped on the princess, where Sam, you gave him a fool,
Yeah.
which we were like, why the fool in that specific situation? We wanted to go back to that and actually look at it, but otherwise, I think the last game, the Sentry swap, was like, I already said it previously, which is like Sam's gonna watch the VOD and notice how much I'm like hyped about it. It's like the most excited I've ever been for him in my life, and also that first game, right? So. And like, yeah, Sam knows I'm actively trying not to cheer for him, and so the fact that he got me to do it is great.
I'm the heel, baby. I want to be the answer.
You John Cena.
Well, if you're asking me what the most exciting moment of that match was, it's the fact that in that last hand, the battery won.
I literally said that. I opened the game. I was like, we're bringing it old school, baby. We're coming out with the battery.
Yeah, well,
Shocking.
Dan has
Shocking.
a lot of anti-battery feelings. All right, I'm gonna pull up the game. I'm gonna try to.
I just love the judge. So I feel like we saw there's some good judge moments in this match. My double judge felt very powerful.
That was epic.
Considering I had all the sixes, all the sevens, all the fives, and I'm sitting down versus all the eights and the nines, and the judges just really helped like buy time in their hand and.
Sure. Yeah, I mean that's.
But
I'm gonna pull up that game that we were talking about so we can talk through it, Dando, if that's cool.
Yeah.
So give me
when
1
you said
second.
Reflection. I was like, I probably should have given you the elder instead of the fool. That might have been the thing that made me lose. But also, I just felt numbers were better. Prevent him from. I was looking at my hand. I was foreseeing it could get to the possibility that he wouldn't be able to play if he had a lower number.
So let's go back to it. I think it was, you guys can see my screen, right?
Yeah.
I believe it was here, right?
Yep.
So wait,
No.
this is the previous game, I think. Yeah. There's so many games. All right.
That was the game where I like had to change my game plan.
Yeah, that's right. So it must be this one, I think.
Yeah, it was this one. Yep.
No, the fool. Oh, yeah.
The Fool's-
this
no,
is
but
game, yeah,
the-
this is the one I had to change my game plan like 4 different times.
Yeah, this is where he then does the thing. You grab the Fool. He had to change it out because the Mystic hits the Inquisitors. At this point, you need to get rid of that Assassin, right? And so you play this. The Kid plays and wants to swap, right? You choose here to swap the Fool with the Soldier. You had a 6-1 combo, and you could have gotten rid of. Well, I guess there's. We were thinking probably Elder, and it wouldn't have been that bad for you, but.
Yeah.
But so you chose the Fool. Can you walk us through?
Yeah, I mean, I put the fool away. I don't know. I think I was just being an idiot, to be honest. Because I was thinking, I think what
As he wins a match.
I think I was. Did I play the Elder?
You did not in that case. No, you then
Okay,
went to
yeah, 'cause I
Queen.
think mid-plan, I was like, I'm gonna play the Elder,
And then you play it
hold
here.
my Queen. Yeah, and then I just decided not to do that, and I just kind of like played the Queen out instead because then I think my mistake was I was thinking I want to play the Elder to hold my Queen and set up my Warlord play. But then I realized after I traded him that he could then fool combo.
Yeah.
So I thought I made a mistake. I need to play the Queen to blow the board up, so now I can't be fooled.
Yeah.
And then I thought he has a low enough hand that maybe I can just berate him out with like my little numbers, so he won't be able to play around them. But that ended up being my downfall. And
Right.
ultimately, if I had just given him the Elder, it would have opened up my lines for the Warlord play.
And it was still close because you had to. Oh, so you finally had to play something high because of the Soldier, right? And then he did a 6-1 combo, but grabbed his 6, which is the most key important part there, where it was down to the wire, right?
So it still was very, very close.
Yeah.
Like if he didn't have the Elder, or I'm sorry, the Zealot, of course, the worst card in the game, right?
But you should know at that point because of the fact that he started the handoff asking for the King's hand. Yeah. So.
Yeah.
But yeah. Anyways, I mean.
Misplay.
Yeah.
I also misplayed the second round or whatever when it should have been a 3-point game and it ended up being.
If I just grabbed the Sentry, I would have been fine. But I grabbed the Royalty and fell into the elder trap like an idiot.
All right. Well, we've kept you guys, for long enough. Really appreciate walking us through that game and that thought. Awesome showcase, and appreciate you guys doing that. I'm gonna make tons of changes to the design now to make sure Daniel can't win again. Not kidding.
You didn't even give me the elder, I'm sorry, the stranger. I
I'll
wasn't
give
even
you
at full
the-
power.
It's out for ceremonial reasons. It'll come soon. For everyone who's watching either
Nice.
through the VOD or through the stream, thank you for joining us tonight. We will have another game tomorrow.
Tomorrow at
2 p.m.
2 p.m.
2 p.m.
2 p.m. Pacific.
Not Eastern.
And remember, I believe it is daylight savings time. So
It's Sunday, so
okay,
no, it's before
so
that.
don't jump your clocks just yet.
We're so
here in the US,
organized. Very organized.
We're on top of it.
2 p.m.
Awesome.
tomorrow, Pacific time, Pacific Standard Time. To be
Pacific
clear.
Pacific Standard Time.
Yeah,
Correct.
because it's weird. It's like
yeah,
daylight savings.
PST.
PST is the number. So we're gonna be having it was going to be Goose and then Coco, but Coco had to step out, so it's going to be actually Goose and Yeti. Yeah.
Oh,
Oh,
boy.
man.
The brothers.
The boisterous brotherly
Brother Bash.
battle.
Yeah.
Bash.
Oh my gosh. You know,
They're two brothers, in
Back
case you
at
guys
it.
didn't know on the stream or VOD. These two brothers are both true kings. They've won tournaments respectively. So I believe Yeti won the last time they met each other. Goose, as you mentioned, Dan, didn't empty his canteen.
Yeah, died with water in his canteen.
Died with water in his
yeah.
canteen. He didn't mulligan on a dubious hand potentially. And Yeti was able to be crowned. So yeah, you two gonna be watching?
Oh, for
yeah, I
sure.
plan
All
on
right,
it. Yeah.
awesome. And then whoever wins that, maybe we'll do a finals showcase. Who knows?
Whoa.
My biggest,
We'll do
I
when
didn't
the
get to
crowd
showcase
wants.
the Nocturne.
Yeah, you didn't get to use the
regret. Didn't get
Nocturne,
to play
but
the
luckily the
Nocturne.
Nocturne is going to be played tomorrow as well as part of the draft. So,
Excellent.
Yeah.
Awesome.
all right, is that a min-max shirt I see there, Dando? Yeah, there we go. I almost wore mine,
Nice.
but I wore the Imposter Kings one. I love my
Ooh,
min-max
can
shirt.
I get one of those? How do I get one of those?
I gave you
hoodies?
one already.
I don't have a hoodie. I have a T-shirt, dude. I want a hoodie.
Dude, I gave you a
Bro,
hoodie.
I did not
Who
wear
did I
it.
give?
Cena, you're so bad at marketing. When he asks, how do you get the merch?
You gotta
You're
win.
supposed to
Setting you
say
up.
at the website,
Only
bro.
way.
I
It's
was
like
setting you
certainly-
up.
Certainly
Yeah,
cannot
instead
go
of
to the website to purchase any Imposter Kings gear you might want to your heart's content. What website should they not go to?
I don't know. It's shop. I don't know. You go to the website, and I think it's one of the things you can click.
If you go to imposterkings.com
Let's
or
check it out. There's like a merch
theimposterkings.com,
button.
you
Oh
go
yeah,
to store.theimposterkings.com where you can buy
Let's take a look
this
at this.
wonderful art
Oh my gosh, look at that! I didn't even know I had some of these
on a
things.
coffee mug,
Amazing.
on a hoodie, on a shirt, and these are nice shirts, by the way.
I think you can even get a onesie. There we go. There's a
you can
onesie,
get
if you have a
onesie for
baby.
your baby.
Shout out to
You
the Oceanic who actually sported this with this.
absolutely should go to store.theimposterkings.com and get some merch.
Yeah.
And if you don't get it tonight, guess what? There's another shot tomorrow at 2 o'clock Pacific time on this stream. We're going to do it all over again.
The shop is open at all times, but
It's only open between 2 and 3 o'clock Pacific
it's
tomorrow.
limited edition. All right, guys, I think we've had a lot of fun tonight.
Yeah, we're just talking for hours. They're seeing the behind the scenes now. Just
Yeah,
four
all right.
idiots. You
Well,
know?
thank you everyone so much, and we'll catch you next time.